Morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I'm Dean Baas. I'm with Michigan State University Extension. I'm actually located in St. Joseph County, work out of the Kellogg Biological Station. I work primarily statewide on cover crop programs, sustainable ag, a little bit of organic agriculture. I've given you each a sheet. I've got two projects I'd like to talk to you about today. They're both funded by the Michigan Wheat Program. The first one are the plots that you're looking at right here. And this is a 3-year study where we're looking at putting wheat back into the rotation and how that affects the profitability of the entire rotation. We're looking at doing it for 3 years. Hopefully, if things go well, we get funded for an additional time because we'd like this to be a long-term study. We're doing this study in 2 locations. We're doing it here. These are the plots you're looking at right here, and we're also doing it on the agronomy farm in East Lansing. So we've got 2 different locations, 2 different soil types, and some differences in practices. What we're looking at here is we're comparing continuous corn, continuous soybeans, a corn-soybean corn, a soybean-corn soybean, then corn-soybean wheat with and without cover crops. And we're doing all entry points, so it's a pretty complex project. You can see all the plots laid out here in corn, soybean, and wheat. This research extends all the way back to where you can see the line out there. So there's 4 reps of every one of those treatments. We're looking at it with and without cover crops. So what we'll be comparing is we can compare just the straight rotations with and without wheat in them. Then we'll also be looking at those rotations including cover crops. And we're going to be monitoring yields, the amount of pesticides we need, the amount of herbicides we need, the amount of fertilizer we need to apply to the plots, number of field operations, all those types of things. And part of where this project came out of was some work that was done at the University of Guelph, where they found that when they had wheat in the rotation, they got on average a 25 bushel yield increase in corn. And they also found that they got a 4 to 6 bushel yield increase in soybeans just by having wheat back in the rotation and providing that diversity. Then they also did a study where they included red clover, and the red clover added to the system gave them another 8 bushels per acre increase on the corn. So basically with wheat and red clover in the rotation, they found they could get a 20 bushel per acre increase just by having that combination. So we think it's important to look at the whole system so we can, instead of evaluating just year to year, what's the price of wheat and do I want to put wheat in, what's it look like over the whole 3-year period as far as what the economics are and the impact on the system. So that's the study we've got going on here. Should be going on for 3 years, also going on in East Lansing. Now this project is funded by all 3 commodity groups. So the wheat growers, corn growers, and soybean growers are all jointly funding this project because it includes all those crops. So that's a jointly funded project. The second project I want to tell you about, we don't have going on here, but we've got going on in 4 locations and at KBS, is a study to look at mixing oilseed radish with wheat at planting and the effect on yield. There were reports starting a few years ago that farmers that had done that saw a yield bump just by mixing in oilseed radish when they planted their wheat. We heard this a bunch of times, we thought that, but they didn't have controls side by side to test it. They just were reporting that they thought they had a yield increase. So we thought it warranted a study to find out if that was real. So last year we did, the wheat growers funded a project to look at that. It was done up in Bay City on John Burke's farm in Ravenna, at Dean Cantola's farm, and at Henry Miller's farm in Centerville. All 3 locations we saw a yield increase due to the oilseed radish.
Winter wheat, right?
Yep, winter wheat. And that it ranged from 2 bushels per acre up to almost 5 bushel an acre. And it turns out at 2 bushel an acre, you basically break even on your oilseed radish seed. So anything above 2 bushels per acre is money in your pocket. So we saw it on every farm, said, well, this may be real. We're still trying to explain it. But one of the things we found in that first study was the one that was planted that got 2 bushels per acre was the last wheat planted of the 3 farms. The one that got the biggest yield bump was the earliest planted wheat. So there's a planting date effect. All of those were planted at 3 pounds of oilseed radish per acre, which is not really that much oilseed radish. So this year we're doing it on 4 farms. We've added Jerry Heck to the mix down in Monroe, and we're also doing it at KBS. On all the farms we're looking at 3 pounds per acre again. At Centerville, at Henry Miller's location, he's looking at 3 different seeding rates, 1.5 pounds, 3 pounds, and 4.5 pounds to see if there's a oilseed radish rate effect. And at KBS, we're looking at not only those 3 seeding rates, but we're looking at 3 different planting dates to try to sort out the planting date effect. So we're doing that again. We're getting not too far off from wheat harvest, and hopefully we will have the data here real soon. We'll be writing up a report after we get that, and it'll be something that should be available that we'll give to the wheat program, and they'll put it up on their websites. But we're kind of excited to see if we get that same kind of across-the-board yield increase this in a second year. And these were done. This was field scale. We basically did drill width strips of oilseed radish, no oilseed radish, oilseed radish, no oilseed radish, on like 40-acre fields. So picking it up at that that scale, we thought was pretty important.